Okay, I thought this was this was important to know. Uh, but either way, this is about the Healthcare Fraud Strike Force program. It's a joint effort between the Department of Justice, the DOJ, and the Department of Health and Human Services to combat medical and Medicaid fraud. This strike force uses data analysis and traditional investigative techniques to identify and prosecute fraudulent schemes, including those involving telemedicine, clinical laboratories, and durable medical equipment. Key aspects of the Strike Force program. The Strike Force involves federal, state, and local agencies, including the FBI, Office of Inspector General, and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Okay, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I know, talked to quite a few people about things they've been going through in the medical system, and basically not being rendered care. And the care that they need is prolonged due to consistency of prescriptions. A young lady I know took her daughter to the doctor, gave a slight description, and the doctor just wrote up a prescription. And she says, "What's that for?" He said, "Don't worry about it." And so he said, "Just take her home," and he gave her a return appointment or something. But she came back because her daughter didn't get well. So the doctor wrote a prescription of something else. And she said, "What's that for?" He told her just to give it to her daughter, and he'll give her a return appointment. So she was a little perturbed because she wanted answers. There was no testing, no real results. She didn't understand how he could diagnose her daughter just by looking at her. So she went to another doctor, got a second opinion, and but I told her to demand it, and she did. Demand no visual diagnosis. She wants answers. So they did a couple of tests. It wasn't long before there was a diagnosis. He gave her some medication. Her daughter got well. The first doctor called her, told her he needed to see her and her daughter about something. And she took her daughter back, and the doctor started yelling at her for going to another doctor, getting a second opinion. And he wasn't happy that she just wasn't going along with the prescriptions that he was giving out. And he tried to pull her daughter away from her. And she pulled back, and she got between him and her daughter, and they left. Well, he called the police. Sorry about that. He called the police, and she eventually got arrested, and they took all four of her kids away from her. And so I talked to her about informed consent, as far as those medications. Did she give informed consent as to, just going by that, and which she didn't. Nobody gives informed consent. So, and then when she was in court, they were quick to take her kids just by the word of the doctor, and eventually they came up with a video but no audio, and he said something that she was aggressive, maybe violent, I don't remember. But anyways, they took away her kids, and then they threw the case out, or they dismissed the case. So she was supposed to get her kids back after 30 days, and it took months, a year, maybe more. She had to keep going to court and fighting, and I gave her some instructions on how to work it through court, using the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct. Tell the judge to cite her attorney for ineffective assistance of counsel. The opposing party, which I'm guessing was the state's attorney, and But either way, citing them for violating the rules of professional conduct, the judge for violating the code of judicial conduct for not reporting those attorneys for violating the rules of professional conduct. It's mandatory to report misconduct in both the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct. Well, she got a little upset with me. I gave her all the links where all this was at. She said, just tell it to her. She'll write it down. So instead of having her write it down and me reading it to her, I gave her the links for everything I said. She was a little upset, but she eventually got her kids back, and she wanted to know why she had to know all this. I said, well, that's their job description. That's their duty. She said, well, if they know that's their job, why I got to notice? Because it's not going to happen. That thing you think of as due process is not going to happen. Your attorney is not going to abide by the rules of professional conduct if you don't know what they are. So you have to take a copy with you and go over them with the attorney. I said, attorney is legally obligated to abide by that because that's what's called effective assistance of counsel, which is guaranteed in the Sixth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And that's described in the rules and the codes, and the rules and the codes are the legal obligations of all lawyers and judges. And if you don't know any of that, they're not going to do it. And that's why she wound up in such a bad position to begin with. As far as probable cause, as far as probable cause, there was no probable cause. As far as the video showed, the judge dismissed the case, but the doctor filed a false complaint. The police shouldn't have arrested her. The state's attorney shouldn't even push forward in the case because in the rules, as well, in the preamble, clearly states that you can't bring forth a case you can't prove. And if it's a state's attorney in Rule 3.8, Special Rules of the Prosecutor, it clearly states that in the opening statement of Rule 3.8, there has to be probable cause. You can't bring a case move forward without informed consent and without probable cause. So basically everybody was supposed to report each other for misconduct and nobody did. And she was upset with me because nobody was doing their job. I said, that's the problem. When it comes to lawyers and judges, the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct are job descriptions. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to do their job when it comes to due process. And no matter what, this was in child custody court, plus she had a criminal case, for them to take her kids away or whatever. I think so. I don't remember, but she didn't want to take the time or the care to find out what due process was, which was I was trying to teach her. And when I was trying to teach her, she said her lawyer said this, her lawyer said that. But everything he said contradicted what I said, and I was just quoting the law. And he said that didn't mean what she thought it said or what I thought it said, which was devoid the letter of the law. So I explained the letter of the law to her, and she got a little upset. Well, why didn't he say that? I said, well, you didn't go over the rules of professional conduct with him. I said, that's his job description. But either way, you got to get informed. Doctors as well as anybody in the court system, before anything can go forward, they must get informed consent from you. And I did a video on that. You must have reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision to give informed consent. And like with the medicines that they were giving these kids, nobody discussed the possible outcome, side effects of what could happen. And nobody actually took the time to do any testing to find out what's actually wrong with these children before prescribing medications. I could understand if it was a cold, a fever, a headache, runny nose. But each time it was beyond that. So informed consent is necessary for doctors as well as in the courtroom for lawyers and judges. Before anything can proceed in a court of law, you must give informed consent. In order to give that informed consent, you must have reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision. And how could you make that informed decision if you don't know what the court's legal responsibilities are to you, stated in the rules of the codes, the Rule of Professional Conduct and the Code of Judicial Conduct? Failure to do that is failure to abide by the oath. They took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. The failure to do so is failure to uphold the oath, and the consequences of violating the oath is fines, removal from public service, and incarceration. Okay, so I just wanted to make this a short video and let you know what I was up to and what I was thinking, okay? Now, peace and love to you. Remember, informed consent, okay? But if you're having any medical issues and doctors are refusing to give you treatment, the treatment that you need, and think that, pacifying you with pharmaceuticals, quite often doctors have yelled at me and said that's all I came for, and I don't like them. I don't like the pharmaceuticals. And I had to push just to get the first MRI done, which shortly afterwards it was scheduled for immediate surgery. So the damage was intense. But the doctor put me off for quite some time, almost 2 years. But I wasn't getting any answers from anybody. But I recently found this. I don't know everything, but I asked the internet a lot of questions. There's a lot of things I do know, and I asked the internet to give it to me so I could read it to you and prove to you there's truth to what I'm saying. Okay, I don't like to speak on things I don't know, and I won't. And if I don't know, I won't speak on them. I didn't know about this, but now I do, and so should you. Okay. Nothing but peace and love.